to start the show a little bit different today, though.
Okay.
I came across 8 years ago today, Gus Bradley, actually 8 years ago yesterday, Gus Bradley was fired in 2016. And so he did something that now has become just like a one of a kind.
Okay.
The next day, he met everybody in Ponte Vedra, meaning everybody, the media, and had a press conference.
In Ponte Vedra?
Well, yeah, he did it like the Sawgrass Marriott.
Huh.
So he didn't do it. It wasn't part of a Jags thing.
Yeah.
But he was like,
hey, he was let go. So
he was let go. And most times if you're let go, like you can chase down the coach at some point, but he doesn't do like a post news conference of, hey, yeah, it didn't work out, blah, 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 right? Yeah. He's gone. Well, Gus did something pretty unique. He got the media together because I think people were requesting it, and he obliged, and a day later met with the media.
Now, let me ask you this. Did he put out a statement before this, or was this kind of like his first interaction?
I think this was his first stuff. I don't remember a statement. Coaches usually don't put out a statement. I mean, I guess once in a while you could get that. I don't recall that. We've had enough people fired around here, but I don't think Del Rio did. I don't think Mularkey did it.
Okay.
It wasn't a statement from Gus, Marone, any of these guys. So I don't think it happened. So I was just listening to today. It's about 4 minutes long. This I kind of already mashed it up together, and just really interesting to hear some of the thoughts in hindsight 8 years later, and how it relates a little bit to today, and how it relates to the overall last 8 years, and how it could relate even if the Jags do make a coaching move on how people feel about the organization.
Okay.
All right. So all those things as a little bit of a setup. We'll talk about it on the other side, but take a listen in the next couple of minutes. Gus Bradley, 2016, 8 years ago today, after he had been let go after 4 years as the head coach of the Jags. Remember, he got fired after the Houston game, so he got fired with about 2 games to go in the season.
You get a lot of texts when you get a job, when something like this occurs. But it's pretty neat, just how many people reach out. I love coaching. I love it. So hopefully I'm coaching somewhere. I'm right now, my family was still asleep at 8 o'clock in the morning. I said, boy, they're really taking it hard. So I haven't had much time to visit with them.
That position?
At quarterback?
Yeah.
No, you know what? Let me say this about Blake. I'm a big Blake Bortles fan, obviously. Did he not play as well? Did he not meet the expectation, his own expectations, or what was set out? Yeah, I would think that'd be a question to ask him, but I'd say no. We all know that there's a higher level for him, but I believe in Blake Bortles. I think that I've said that many times. I think this season really stings. It really hurts. It really hurts that team. Now, my hopes is that sting hurts enough that it really challenges them to go another direction. And you see that happen with some people and with some teams. And I think that's how you're going to see Blake Bortles come back from it. I think that it stings enough, and he's such a fierce competitor. I expect nothing but good things to happen for him and this team with him as the leader. The analogy like the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team where I'm from, they've got 5 lottery picks, and you'd say, boy, they're very talented. But talent alone doesn't take you to the playoffs. It doesn't make you it's not just talent. So, Gus, is this a talented team? Without a doubt, it's talented. Without a doubt. Do you think it's a playoff team? Well, we'll see on that. You know what? I'll coach anywhere. So I just want to coach. I've never been, to me, the big time's where you're at. And so, I just want to be a part of it. I think someone asked me, Gus, do you want to be a head coach again? And I just want to go be a part of something special. I just want to go to a place and help that organization and give everything I can to help it be its best. I hope they do, because it'll be a long conversation. It'll be a very, very positive conversation. I'm telling you, this organization with this ownership and this front office and support staff is unbelievable. And it's easy for me to say right when I'm hired and I'm a part of it, but I just got let go yesterday. So now's the time. But I'm not saying that. It's genuine. I'm telling you, it's genuine. This place is phenomenal. The owner is phenomenal. So it's a really, really great opportunity. And the players, I think you're coming into a situation where this is a hungry chip on the shoulder team. So if a coach was looking at this, you'd say, pretty good situation.
One regret.
I'd just like to be here with this team when it's successful. And I do really believe this fan base is unbelievable. And the regret I have is not seeing these players and all the when you go through something that's hard and then you come through it and you have success and you say, that's why we do it. That's why these lessons, look at where it took you. And then see a stadium that's filled, like what you told me about when they came back from the playoffs and the plane flew around, the stadium was filled. I kept envisioning that part of it, where this city would go wild and the players, and we connected with the following. And so, it wasn't like 50% of the fans hated our players and 50% liked them because they were this type. It was 100% liked them. They connected with the fans. They connected with the following. They played good football. They won. They didn't have an enemy. They had no enemies. And everybody was pulling for them. So, I regret, because I do believe that's going to happen. So I regret not being here to see that.
Well, there you go. That was Gus Bradley from 2016. Came across that today and I just thought it was pretty wild. First of all, it's so unique. Right? Gus is a unique guy.
Yeah, for sure.
There's nobody like him in the NFL. I think we found it's a weird business. Not too many people are as genuine as Gus in the business. And so that set aside, I think we know that part. And I think there's just a couple of things that stand out from what he said there. And the most is at the end where he gets emotional about wanting to be a part of it, wanting to do it for the city and wanting to do it for the fans. Mm-hmm. And what comes to mind is relationships. Like he gets it. He got Jacksonville, right? Like he got what it would mean. Now, he's here for 4 years for this city to come to life. And ironically enough, his emotions there came true because he didn't get to be a part of it in 17 when it did come to life, right? The next year. So I just think we've said that a little bit about this regime. I think, I'm not trying to compare people, by the way. Everybody's different in their own way. I've long said this. I think Doug Pederson's a good coach. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. I have not changed that. I don't think right now it's going well. He's not pushing the right buttons. It's not working out in Jacksonville right now. But I also think part of it is I think he's really swung and missed on the relationship part of this here in this town. I think once he got that success in year one, it was like, okay, we're cool. Like everybody loves us and blah, 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 blah. And maybe got a little content with that. Where I think in Jacksonville, I mean, you build so much equity through relationships. And maybe you do that in other towns too. But we just know this town that you really do build relationships and equity to some degree. And I'm not even talking about from the media and the way we talk about things, but I guess that's part of it. I think inside the building, outside the building, like I look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence, I feel like he's developed relationships. He understands Jacksonville. Okay. I look at a guy like Pederson, I'm not really sure he is out and about and feels a part of Jacksonville, as much.
But let me ask you this, though. Do you think it's the relationships while they're not winning, though? Because, I can look at Bill Belichick and say, I'm sure that guy, I mean, you covered it a little bit. So yeah. You saw it. Like, I always felt like Bill Belichick was a guy who didn't really have relationships. That's a bigger market and everything, so it's probably a little different. But, I feel like he's probably the worst guy to try to cover.
Well, he probably is. But also because one of the reasons he's like that, Austen, is because he does get the market. That is a crazy market that they're going to hammer you. Like, you have to stay insulated from all of that. Okay. Right? In a different way, Jacksonville has some of that because it's in a vacuum. I've been told, Buffalo's like this, too, because it's the biggest thing, right? So everything gets scrutinized. But also, there's that small-town feel to it as well. So you don't run into I don't know if it's the reason you win, but I do think it's a reason why you buy some equity and get equity and get a little bit of leniency potentially with the fan base, and you can talk to them. Like, I don't think. Do you ever get the sense like Doug at a podium's talking to the fan base?
No, not really. But like
I do with Trevor.
Yeah, but like I also think with Gus Bradley, like I think he had a pretty good relationship with the fan base.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I mean, did it get him equity though? Like at the end of the day, is what you had on the field is what you had on the field. You know, like,
well, yeah, because it had a taste of anything. Yeah. I know, everybody. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody will say this in the comments probably like, hey, Gus is a great guy, but obviously it didn't work out, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's one way to do it.
I mean, dude, I wrote a whole article about it. Like, I was bummed that I got let go and that I was going to miss out on the Gus Bradley experience because he seemed like a coach that would be fun to play for. He brought a lot of energy every single day, and I got cut during OTA, so I only got to see just a glimpse of it. But yeah, I was sad that I was leaving because I wanted to be a part of that experience as well.
Yeah, I feel like, and relationships might be heavy of a word, but I think it's relative to this place. I think he got this place. I think there's a little bit of part of, like, say, Doug, and Trent's just not a warm and fuzzy guy to begin with. I don't think he's a relationship guy, honestly. I'll say this to everybody. Like, I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think he's not a relationship guy. He's just not going to be walking down the halls and talking to you. There's not a lot of small talk with Trent. He'll say hi to you and everything else, very cordial, but it's not that. I think with probably everybody mostly in the building. But Doug, I'm not sure. Doug, from being in Philly and other places, I don't know if he ever really has fully gotten Jacksonville. I don't get that sense.
Okay.
And it's a different deal. And I think some of simply if you want to just say, talking to the fan base, so this is a guy with a Lombardi trophy with a good record for a year and a half that did build up equity on the field that may be able to survive this if he had a little bit more of that. But we just saw the last 4 months where this fan base all of a sudden doesn't like, quite frankly, Doug Pederson.
Yeah.
And it's not just because he was losing games.
Of course.
They didn't like the way he was holding himself.
It's because of his demeanor. It's the way it's both, right? It's the way that he's holding himself accountable through those losses. People don't like that. You talk about Bill Belichick, and he's kind of a reflection of Boston. And when we've said this before a little bit on the show, we've actually talked about this before on the show, but it's like sometimes you want to get a coach that's a reflection of your city. Dan Campbell's a classic example of this. Dan Campbell, as someone who's lived in Detroit for a little bit and played there, I'm here to tell you that Dan Campbell is Detroit personified, right? I think Sean McDermott is Buffalo personified. When you think of Jacksonville, and once again, I think people have different variations of what Jacksonville actually is, I think it's more of the underdog. And it's ironic because, Pederson, I thought, purveyed that role a little bit in Philadelphia, but then obviously it doesn't translate here. So to me, Jacksonville, it's not about the glitz and the glamour of Florida because you have Miami, you have Orlando, you even have Tampa. Like, to me, Jacksonville is kind of like, I don't want to say like in a bad way, but it's kind of like the little brother that's always forgotten about. Right. So if you have that and you have a coach, to me, then maybe getting the top candidate isn't the way to go. Maybe you need somebody a little more with a chip on their shoulder. I think, once again, I don't think he's going to come to Jacksonville. I think Mike Vrabel will have a chip on his shoulder because he didn't get offered a job for the first cycle. They said, your style of coaching isn't going to work in this league. We're going to go with a younger, more new school approach, offensive-minded approach. Mike Vrabel, best of luck to you on the next cycle. So I think he has a chip on his shoulder. But I think what you're looking for, if you're trying to match what the city is to what a coach is going to be, you got to find a guy that maybe not everyone's talking about, that's kind of under the radar a little bit, and that's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, a couple of the things I thought Gus said in there that were pretty interesting and can relate to like now, and we've seen this. He mentioned in there, he's like, listen, this is a talented team. Well, we know Jacksonville has a talented team. They've got some talent on this team, right? This is not an empty team. Well, Gus was right about that because in 2017, they took off. Sure. He also mentioned the chip on the shoulder. Well, we've now seen that a couple of times. So 16 to 17, you could really feel that. That chip on the shoulder helped drive them, right, to where they went. They were a hungry team. Coming out of 16 and going to 17, and they would do anything, and even a hard as heck training camp with Coughlin and Marone to get it done. Yeah. You take a look at what Doug inherited. That was a hungry football team. That was a team that was pissed off. That was a team that had a chip. Coming out of the urban stuff, they're like, here, thank you, Doug, right? And Doug worked them hard. Hard camp, didn't matter. Yeah. Boom. They got results. I think whoever comes in here, or even if these guys, whatever, I think the 2025 edition of the Jags is going to be a hungry football team. Now, I kind of thought they were hungry coming off 24-3, to be honest with you, with the collapse.
Yeah.
And that didn't really transcend to wins. But I think you'll get that for whatever this looks like in 25. And I don't want to just sit here and assume automatically these guys are going to be gone. So whatever that looks like, I think you're going to get a hungry football team in camp next year of like, we're tired of this. Right. So I think it sets up well for 2025. And we've seen now you can make the case a lot of different years in Jacksonville. It's been a hungry team coming off some disappointment.
Yeah, man.
But the hunger has to meet talent, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say they're pretty famished at this point. Yeah. I mean, come on.
But hunger has to meet talent is my point. You can have a hungry team without a lot of talent.
Sure.
And we've seen that in Jacksonville before, too. I mean,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's the problem. I think the talent we thought was there this year, and maybe it wasn't. Maybe we overestimated just how good this team could truly be. But I think one of the synopses that we're talking about this season is the hunger and what we're seeing on the field.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought it was just interesting to hear some of those talking points. Oh, the one other thing that I was going to bring up, and Gus said this even after getting fired that day. It's like, hey, this is a good job. Mm-hmm. And everybody will sit there for the next few weeks or whatever, and every cycle we've been through this, everybody be like, oh, it's not a great job, bad owner, this, bad owner, that, bad this, bad that, bad that. And everybody will be like, I won't say everybody, because in the last cycle it seemed like not everybody wanted to work with Trent Baalke if he was going to be the guy, and so there's some things there. But I would say clean slate-wise, if they do clean slate this is a very admirable job to have in the NFL. Number one, because there's one of 32 of them. But two, I think this owner is respected in that sense, that he's usually going to give you time. He's going to be patient. He's going to give you what you need. He's going to spend the money. That helps. You've got draft capital. You've got money. You've got a quarterback. You've got pieces. And people seem... we do this all the time. Anybody who comes to Jacksonville seems to like it in this profession. Heck, most of these guys still stay. You got Malarkey, Coughlin, Gus still has a house here. All these people still stay. So that's a lot I think what Gus said in 16 still rings true today, that if this job does become available, it's going to be a highly sought-after job.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the possibility, but I think the one thing that is hurting Jacksonville right now is the lack of tradition, is the lack of identity and the lack of pride. You know, like if you talk about jobs like the Bears or the Cowboys opening up, to me they're a little more, and maybe even like the Giants. Like to me they're a little more appealing just because of what the logo stands for, of what the city and the brand stands for. Jacksonville's not there yet. It's been, it's had its ups, but it's had its lows as well, and that's the biggest thing. Is you haven't had consistency. Now, like the Giants, the Bears, they've been consistently kind of bad the past couple of years, but I still think they have so much equity built up in terms of their franchises that, like if you're Mike Vrabel, like let's say that Mike Vrabel is highly sought after, right? And if you're Mike Vrabel, well, what are you going to go to? Are you going to go to the Jaguars where, all right, you have experience with them because you played with them in a division? Or are you going to go to the Bears? You're going to talk about an 85 defense. You're going to go all this kind of tradition and history and stuff and go there. And maybe ownership there with the McCaskies, maybe it's not as, sought after. But to me, it still comes down to just what does that logo, what does that brand say?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's an interesting point, but I also think there are two schools of thought on that point. Do you want to just be another guy chasing history and a long lineage of people that were great? Or do you want to come to Jacksonville and create it yourself, right? In places like Jacksonville, that's kind of a cool thing. Like, right, you've got a blank canvas, and now you've got to create that because it doesn't exist. You've got to create. That's what Doug's trying to create. That's what he's tried to create. That's what, I don't know if Urban really tried to create it, but that's what Gus and Dave tried to create. That's what Doug and Coughlin came back to try to recreate, if you will. So, I think, but you just talked about a bunch of organizations which are, the Cowboys, the Bears and Giants, let's just say those. Terrific tradition. But, man, they've tried a lot of different guys now over the last 20 years and then some that haven't been able to figure that out.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Lovie Smith was probably the last guy in Chicago to really figure it out, and they let him go when he had a winning season. That probably shouldn't have happened. I mean, I just look at it like Mike Tomlin, where, when I'm not sure how highly sought after Mike Tomlin was.
That's a good question. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But, he goes to Pittsburgh with, once again, we talk about tradition, and to me, he didn't really have to, you add your own personality, you add your own philosophies, your X's and O's and things, but, it's already established. Like you have the support of ownership, you have the support of management. They know how to draft, they know how to take care of their players and everything. And it's almost like if you're a coach, all right, I just got to, maybe tinker a little here over there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of already in place. I feel like with Jacksonville, it's a complete overhaul. Now, some people are going to embrace that challenge. Some people are going to want that challenge. I think other coaches are going to be like, well, I can just go someplace else and like I can just, move a couple things around here and we should be okay. I think there's more that needs to be done here in Jacksonville, like tearing it all down and building it back up again.